Hi, everybody. Radical Gardener. How are you today, huh? It is December 10th. It's a Thursday, so you guys figure it out. I think it's the 10th. All right, I am going to, whoa. That was crazy. I just got this total, wow, something just washed through me. Whoa, what was that? Ooh, okay, I'm here. Well, that is really strange. I don't think I've ever had anything like that before. It was like I just went dizzy and now I'm fine. Wow. Okay. Let's see if that happens again. If I disappear on you or something, I've just entered another dimension. I'm going to read to you from this incredible book. It's called Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East, Volume 1. There's 5 volumes, and I mentioned this, I think, in the last video. And this is, I thought it was 12 British went over to the Far East to study the sages and, spirituality over there in the 1800s, 1897, I believe they said, 1894. And this one sage, Emil, really found them after being there for 2 years. So this is something he said to them, and this is in regards to America. Now, he mentions Christopher Columbus. Don't get caught up in Christopher Columbus didn't really discover America. That's true. His point is what motivated him. What was it that gave him the confidence that he could discover these lands? What was that inspired by? Was that divine? Now my throat's doing something strange. I have to be honest with you. A friend of mine removed something from my third eye earlier today, and I did too, so I don't know. It's getting weird out here, folks. Okay. This is really powerful, for me anyway, and it made me cry. I've read it a couple of times. It made me cry. So here we go. Just focus on the words. We love to call your country America, and of all its inhabitants, Americans. Now remember, this is the sage in 1894. You will never know the joy these few moments bring to me on this day of such import, to be able to talk with you and see eye to eye with a small group of Americans who were, with one exception, born in that great land. Let me say that it has been the privilege of some of us to have beheld your country long before Columbus started on the memorable expedition. There had been other attempts at discovery, but they had come to naught. Why? Simply because of the absence of that one God-given quality, faith. The one who had the courage and faith to see and carry out the vision had not yet awakened. The moment that soul awoke to the realization that the earth was round and there must be land on the other side equal to that already known, we could see that another great historical epoch had been begun to unfold. Who but the great omnipotent one, who sees all things, could have awakened that little grain of faith in the soul of Columbus? What were his first words as he stood before the Queen that day, not recognizing the higher power? Dear Queen, I am firmly convinced that the earth is round, and I wish to sail forth and prove it. I do not know whether you recognize it, but these words were God-inspired, and Columbus was recognized as one who had the determination to carry out what he undertook. Then the long sequence of events started to unfold, which was shown us years before, not in its entirety, but enough so that we have been able to follow. Of course, we dreamed of the almost unbelievable wonders to be accomplished and recorded in the seemingly short span of years that have passed. But those of us that have been privileged to live through it now fully realize that far greater wonders are in store for your great nation. We feel that the time has come for your nation to awaken to its true spiritual import, and we wish to do all we can to help you to this realization. It appears that their interest in us, and then he says, Spalding says, it appears that their interest in us was prompted by their great desire to have America accept the Christ consciousness and realize her possibilities. They know that her inception was truly spiritual, and through that fact, she is destined to be a leader in the spiritual development of the world. Emile, the sage, continued, think of this made possible by the little seed of faith planted in the consciousness of one man they allowed to develop. What has happened? Can you realize it? Columbus in his day was thought to be an impractical dreamer. Are we not all coming to the place where we believe and know that the dreams of yesterday are but the realities of today? For who has accomplished anything who is not a so-called dreamer? In reality, were his visions dreams? Were they not ideals in the great universal mind, God, conceived in the soul of the one who brought them forth as a great truth? Did he not set forth upon an uncharted sea, visioning clearly in his own consciousness a land beyond? Whether he saw the promise and prominence to be attained by the land or even the name of America to be given to it, I do not know. In all probability, that was left for those that followed to work out. The point is, was it not first a dream or vision? We already see some of the wonders unfolded, but we can only visualize the wonders yet to follow as the result of that one vision. In this way, we may recount the many visions that have helped to make the world a better place in which to live. Is not this the way God manifests or expresses through all? The one that has already brought forth is the one that has the greater faith in God, either consciously or unconsciously. Think of that soul setting out upon what was then an uncharted sea, the hardships, the trials, and discouragements, with but one thought uppermost in mind, the goal. Then events led on and always up to the day when that little handful embarked on the Mayflower, seeking freedom to worship God in their own way. Think of it, in their own way. Taken in the light of the Spirit and subsequent happenings, does the real truth come? Did they not build greater than they thought? Can you not see the hand of the great omnipotent one above it all? What is going on with me? Then came the dark days when it seemed as though the first colonies would be snuffed out, but what God has set his hand to must triumph. Still later came the great day of the signing of the Declaration of Independence and choosing either God or oppressor. Who prevailed? Who must always prevail? Whether you realize it or not, the struggles of that little body of men in those memorable days and the act of affixing their names to that document is one of the greatest epics since that of the advent of Jesus into the world. And remember who's saying this. Then came the strokes of the independence bell. Believe it or not, the first strokes of that bell were known to us as truly as if we had been standing beneath it. That bell magnified and sent out the vibrations that emanated from that little center until someday they will penetrate the deepest and darkest corners of the whole earth and thus enlighten the darkest consciousness. What? What's going on there now, huh? They're fighting hard. They know the energy that's there. They know the spiritual energy that's there. The darkness wants it. Look at the trials and vicissitudes that led up to that event. Was not the great child born that day? See the great souls that dared to come forth to sponsor the child. Had they lost heart? See what might have happened? They did not falter or lose heart. What did happen? This greatest nation of all the earth was born. Her trials and tribulations since bespeak what? Are they not closely allied with the unfoldment of that great soul, Jesus of Nazareth? Cannot those that signed the Declaration of Independence that day be likened unto the wise man from the east, who saw the star symbolizing the birth of the babe in the manger, the Christ consciousness in man? Did they not perceive the star just as truly as those of old? Calling to mind the words of that declaration, can you doubt that every word was God-inspired? Stop a moment and think. Is there a parallel in all history? Is there or was there ever a document like it from which it could have been copied? Is there any doubt that it came direct from the universal mind substance? Is there any doubt that it is part of the great creative plan being brought into manifestation? Is there any doubt that it is a successive stage in the working out of that great plan? Is there any question that the watchword e pluribus unum, which means one out of many or unity out of diversity or multiplicity, was adopted during the successive stages of evolution of the spirit of truth? It certainly did not emanate mechanically from man's mortal mind. Then the emblematic phrase, "In God we trust," does not that show the most sanguine faith or trust in God, the creator of all? Then the choice of the eagle, the bird which represents the highest aspiration as the emblem. It shows that these men were deeply spiritual, or they built better than they knew. Can you doubt for a moment that all were guided by the whole of the God spirit and creative action? Does it not bespeak that America is destined to be the guide to the whole world? Consider the history of your nation. There's not a parallel in the history of the nations of the whole earth. Can you not see each succeeding step leading up to its fulfillment? Can you believe that there's any other than a mastermind working out its unfoldment? Can you doubt that it is the great omnipotent God guiding its destiny? Just as the mustard seed, although it is among the smallest of seeds, has the faith to know that within itself it has the power to express the mustard plant, the greatest of all herbs. For when it is grown, it becomes a tree, and the birds may come and lodge in the branches thereof. Just as a seed knows that within itself it has the power to express the greatest, so must we know that we have the power within ourselves to express the greatest. In giving this parable, it was the quality instead of the quantity of faith that Jesus referred to. If ye have the faith as a grain of mustard seed, and that faith becomes knowing, ye shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Just so the frailest poppy seed and the mightiest banyan tree, the bulb, the plant, the tree seed, all know that they can express the greatest. And if a plant knows, we should know. Each has an exact picture of representation of what it must express. So must we have an exact picture within ourselves of what we desire to express? then there must be an inner perfecting wrought by hourly preparation, and this perfection will come forth. No flower ever burst into full bloom without this perfecting inner urge. A moment before the bud was confined within the sepal, I think it's sepal, S-E-P-A-L, sense of self. But when this inner perfection is complete, the flower bursts forth beautiful. As the seed that falls into the ground must first give forth from self in order to grow, develop, and multiply, so must we first give forth from self to unfold. As the seed must first burst its shell in order to grow, so must we burst our shell in order to grow. So must we burst our shell of limitation to begin our growth. When this inner perfection is complete, we must come forth beautiful, the same as the flowers. As with an individual, so with a nation. Can you not see that with the Christ consciousness fully developed in such a nation, whatever is undertaken by its people must work out for good to all, for the very root or heart of all government is the consciousness of those governed. Great mistakes have been made by your nation in the ongoing because you have not realized your spiritual import, and the vast majority are still deep in the material. I fully realize that great souls have guided the destiny of your nation. I also realize how little those great souls have been appreciated until they have passed on. The way has been jagged and bushy, a hard way because man in his limited concept thus far, let alone the mortal concept, build the way. See what wonders he has accomplished, but see what wonders could have been accomplished had the fuller, deeper spiritual meaning been understood and applied. In other words, had the Christ been placed at the helm of your ship of state, and could all have known the truth, as Jesus did, that the Christ is in every man and that all are one, what wonders would stand revealed today? I behold the same glory yet to be as soon as the deep spiritual meaning of E Pluribus Unum is understood. Do you not realize that it is one of the first great laws of God, the one expressing through the many, one of all and for all? Now remember, this isn't religion. This is spirituality. This is acknowledging our Christ consciousness, acknowledging the Christ in us, our greatness, what we are actually meant to be, what we are capable of being. Consider every nation that has been founded. Those founded on true spiritual perception have endured the longest and would have endured forever, had not materialism been allowed to creep in and gradually undermine the whole structure until they fell by their own abnormal weight or were consumed by the misuse of the law that gave them birth. By the fall of each, what has happened? The principle or God part was preserved until in each succeeding failure, we can trace a gradual rise or upward ongoing in each successive stage, until finally all must end in God. One of many. My brothers, it does not need a prophet to bring you to a realization of this. See what a nation Spain was at the time Columbus set forth on his voyage of discovery. Well, I mean, Spain had a pretty sordid history, but it was a great nation. And, they just, then there was the Spanish Civil War. And, just that there were a lot of things that they did in the name of religion that really took them down. And this is what he says. See what a nation Spain was at the time Columbus set forth on his voyage of discovery, and for a short time afterwards, and see now what is happening. In a short time, she will be at war with her own child. Then you will see what a helpless, impotent nation she is, hardly able to totter into a good fight or out of a poor one. To what can you attribute her impotency? Is it utter devitalization? Is it not always thus with a nation or an individual? When the body form or structure has been satiated, whether by greed or passion, the results are the same. There may be a time of seeming prosperity and success, but this is short-lived. Then the decrepit, emaciated, and wasted form hears evidence, as does the halting, uncertain step of the old. Whereas, had they conserved and developed their spiritual power, they would be as resilient and buoyant at 500, 5,000, or 10,000 years, or eternally, as they were in the heyday of their ascendancy. How we look forward to the age which is dawning, the age of crystal. The pure white light of dawn gradually breaking, and in a short space of time, all will see the full blaze and glory of this approaching day. Then there will be no darkness, no limitation. Does not this suggest that there must be eternal progress? If not, all must return to that from which it sprang, the universal substance. All must progress or go back. There is no halfway point, no stopping place. When your nation does recognize its true estate or mission, which I believe is going on right now, and join hands with Spirit and expresses as God wishes it to express, or lets the Spirit unfold from within, we can see for your great nation a marvel far transcending the power of any human tongue to describe. Last paragraph. There is no question that it took the great strong beak and talons of the eagle to hold your nation together during its development. But when the true spiritual light comes, it will be seen that the dove is mightier than the eagle, and the dove will protect what the eagle now guards. Look at the words on the coin you send into every avenue of the world trade. In God we trust. And E Pluribus Unum. One composed of many, the very slogan of Spirit, when the dove replaces the eagle on the life medium of such a nation. Wow. Wow. You know, Rudolph Steiner says the same thing. He says the same thing about this country. So, I'm not too worried about anything. How about you? Isn't that powerful? And I love where it came from, who it came from, and when it was delivered. Pretty good. So, oh, my head's doing something weird again, you guys. Wow, what's going on? Cleared my third eye. All right, getting weirder here, folks. All right, so I have a new little mantra I'm going to be using at the end of every video. I'm going to add it on to what I always say. So here we go. Radical gardener, from my garden to yours, may your garden always grow. You know I'm sending you a ton of love. And let me add this, because I want this for every human on the planet. Life, love, harmony, peace, perfection. Love you all.